Park unveils plans for the Steel Phantom, the fastest roller coaster in the world. I'm Bill Flanagan. I'll have that story coming up.
The world's fastest roller coaster is on its way to Pittsburgh. Kennywood Park has unveiled plans for the Steel Phantom, a giant steel coaster that will replace the laser loop. Money editor Bill Flanagan reports that the new coaster is a huge undertaking for a park the size of Kennywood.
You're gonna miss it, but you won't. Yeah. Compared to what's gonna be here, you know.
Members of the American Coaster Enthusiasts, the nation's largest amusement industry group, are combing the hills of Kennywood for a preview of the park's new roller coaster and a farewell to the laser loop. The 10-year-old ride retires on Labor Day. It's been sold to a German company that plans to move it to a European amusement park. In its place beside the Thunderbolt, Kennywood will build the Steel Phantom. The looping coaster should have the longest drop and the fastest speed in the world. Harry Henninger is the park's president.
This is far and away the largest project that we've ever undertaken. For an individual project, this is immense.
Right now, there's little to see of the Steel Phantom, but a painter touching up sections of black and gray tracks scattered around the Pay parking lot. But scenes from several existing coasters can give you a sense of the Steel Phantom's features. The coaster's second hill will plunge more than 200 feet into a ravine, falling farther and faster than Cedar Point's Magnum XL 200, currently the tallest and fastest in the world. The ride's trains will soar through a vertical loop, not unlike the laser loops, and through a boomerang turn similar to this one on the Magnum, but Kennywood's will turn you upside down. Finally, there's a single corkscrew before the train returns you to the station through a circular tunnel, all in about 2 minutes, 15 seconds. This slope should become the Steel Phantom's signature. In addition to a 225-foot drop and an 80-mile-per-hour top speed, the track will pass right through the Thunderbolts. That's right, over one set of tracks and under the other as the ride bottoms out in the ravine below the Thunderbolt.
They threw some different elements together in a different combination, and I think it'll be a very good ride.
Kennywood's use of natural hills instead of man-made ones will help keep the price down. The Steel Phantom should cost about $4.5 million instead of the $8 million Cedar Point spent on the Magnum. Now, what is this going to mean to Kennywood? Are you counting on a huge increase in attendance?
We don't want a huge increase in attendance. Sincerely, we're doing this because it was time for us to do something spectacular for the market that we have.
The Steel Phantom's time will come next April. In West Mifflin, Bill Flanagan, KDKA Eyewitness News.
Next year, Cedar Point Amusement Park in Sandusky, Ohio will set 2 world records when it builds a wooden roller coaster 160 feet tall. The coaster, which has yet to be named, will be the tallest wooden roller coaster in the world. And after it is built, Cedar Point will also break its own world record for being the amusement park with the most roller coasters, 10.
But fasten your seatbelts for next year. The Steel Phantom is on its way.
You'll be 110 feet high, and you'll go down towards the river and drop 225 feet, 80 miles an hour, and scream.
Kennywood officials say the soon-to-be-built Steel Phantom will be the greatest roller coaster in the world. The top speed, 80 miles per hour. The drop, the biggest in the world. The Thunderbolt has a 90-foot drop. Hercules at Dorney Park drops 157 feet. Magnum at Cedar Point, 195. But the Steel Phantom will drop 30 feet more, 225 feet into a ravine, a coaster enthusiast's dream.
Just the whole ride concept, because it uses the ravine, and not all parks have ravines to use like that.
Beyond the drop, the designs call for a loop, 2 boomerangs, and naturally, a corkscrew. Will you be able to ride it with a drop like that?
I don't mind drops as long as it doesn't spin around. I can't handle the stuff that spins around.
It does that
and
too.
Drops. Oh, it does.
And it dips and it drops?
We'll have to see what that looks like first.
Although fans are starting to say goodbye, it's not completely the end of the line for the laser loop. A German company bought it and plans to place it in a park somewhere in Europe. But there's still time for one more ride before the Steel Phantom spirits the laser loop away. Susan Brozek, WTAE 4 News.
And it's not cheap building a roller coaster these days. The Steel Phantom will cost about $4.5 million. And you'll miss the laser loop, I know.
I will. What a ride that new one will be.
Yes. Okay.
It marks the end of an era. The West Mifflin Amusement Park will soon be tearing down one of its main attractions. Arvin Girasoli was there as thousands took one last ride on a high-speed twister of a coaster known as the Laser Loop. Oh, that's awesome.
It goes around.
I like when you go up in a loop and you're upside down.
They're talking about the Laser Loop. Since 1980, the $2 million coaster's been among the top attractions at Kennywood Park for a whole bunch of reasons.
It makes my stomach sick. I feel like I'm going to vomit when I'm coming around to start at the beginning and stuff.
Even those face-to-face with the experience argue over just what it feels like. But the 39 seconds that catapult riders forward, through a loop-de-loop, and then backwards for a repeat performance were designed to simulate the high-speed jolt of takeoff from an aircraft carrier. Always popular with riders, the laser loop was powered by a high-tech computer, so complex it often broke down, and that's what's led to its demise.
Just the fact that it's so incredibly sophisticated and maintenance-wise, it is just a headache to keep up.
Ironically, it was a similar head rush that whipped 12,200,000 people through the ride of their lives.
Make that 12,200,000 and one.
Vince Girasoli, WTAE4 News.
We didn't actually get to see Vince ride that, though. For you thrill seekers out there, Kennywood is replacing the laser loop with another high-speed attraction, the Steel Phantom, which will feature the longest drop of any roller coaster in the world, 225 feet. It should be ready by opening day next spring. And that's our 11 o'clock report. Thanks for being with us.
Coming up, they're three gals with a decidedly different outlook on life. It's the premiere of The Golden Girls, coming up next, here on WTAE-TV.
Closed-captioned newscast has been a presentation of WTAE4 News.
The laser loop zipped along the tracks for its final ride.
I love it. I don't think they should take it down. I really don't.
We've never been on this, but we figured it's not going to be here anymore, so we got to try it. Kennywood, now closed for the season, will replace the laser loop with another roller coaster called the Steel Phantom. The Phantom will have a record 225-foot drop and a maximum speed of 80 miles per hour.
Did you ever ride that laser loop?
Yes, I did. I liked it too, but it was
Once was enough for me.
From KDK TV2.
Well, today was perfect for a roller coaster ride, and Pittsburgh's self-styled roller coaster capital put the good weather to good use. Money editor Bill Flanagan took a run on Kennywood's newest coaster, the Steel Phantom.
This is a roller coaster for the record books, the fastest ever built, with an 80-mile-per-hour top speed at the bottom of a 225-foot drop, the biggest drop anywhere. And it's a Kennywood. Jack York's a member of the American Coaster Enthusiasts, who's ridden 209 different coasters.
Well, out of all those coasters and all those rides, how does this one stack up?
This is definitely the most intense coaster that I've ever been on. Going down!
This Friday, when it opens to the public, the Steel Phantom will speed past the Magnum in Cedar Point, Ohio, as the fastest coaster in the world. A Utah company called Aerodynamics designed and engineered them both. John Lane supervises the construction.
I'm tremendously pleased. I was pleased the very first train that went over the top of the hill. I can tell by the sight and the sounds it was going to do well.
The view from the top of this hill is spectacular.
It is incredible, and down through the Thunderbolt.
That's right. Here, look again. The Steel Phantom soars through the Thunderbolt, over and under its tracks, as it takes that record 225-foot plunge.
And then it turns you upside down. One, like the laser loop. And then over two. Over again. Three. And then before you get home, one more time through the corkscrew.
In recent years, there's been a kind of roller coaster arms race among the nation's amusement parks. You can see why when you see what a coaster does for attendance. 2 summers ago, average attendance at the nation's amusement parks grew about 1.5%. Attendance at the parks that added new coasters soared about 8.5%. Kennywood's $4.5 million investment could produce almost too big a payoff. Harry Henninger is president of Kennywood Park.
The people from Arrow said, you have to be careful. This is such a wonderful park. You don't want to overcrowd it, and we agree with them. So we're cutting back on our advertising, and we're not making a Steel Phantom advertisement.
Kennywood's counting on the Phantom to sell both the park and itself.
It's not incredibly long, but every minute of it is very intense. So as far as the quality of the ride you're getting, it's near perfect.
All that in 1 minute and 47 seconds.
Bill Flanagan, KDKA Eyewitness News.
Can't wait for Kennywood Day, eh, Ray?
No, thank you. No, I wouldn't get near it.
But you can hold that popcorn then. Up next
tonight, the moment so many of you have been waiting for, the debut of the world's fastest roller coaster. For a year, workers at Kennywood Park have been slaving away to create the $5.5 million Steel Phantom. Sheila Hyland gives us a test run of this steel giant.
Is this steel beast jutting through the sky over Kennywood really as tantalizingly terrifying as they say?
It's the best steel coaster I've ever been on.
This is my personal favorite.
And these guys ought to know. They're local members of the American Coaster Enthusiasts invited for a test run of the Phantom.
There's 2 unique elements. One is obviously the 225-foot drop, which is a greater drop than anything in the world. So you attain an 80 miles an hour, which no one on a roller coaster has done before.
Though not exactly dressed for the occasion, I was urged to throw caution and my high heels to the wind to bring you this subjective critique of the ride. Hey, is it too late to get off this thing? In 1 minute 45 seconds, I was thrust uphill, through the Thunderbolt, down 2 vertical slopes, including that 225-foot mega drop. 80 miles an hour, 1 loop, 2 boomerangs, and a corkscrew later.
You're right, you don't want to do that too often. That was incredible.
You can be inverted, you turn upside down, thrust from side to side, but overall, you're going to come back in one piece.
Though you may have left part of your brain behind.
How long have you been a member?
Forget it.
Sheila Hyland, WTAE 4 News.
You have to try the world's greatest steel roller coaster to believe it. You'll get your chance starting this Friday when the new Steel Phantom opens to the public for the first time at Kennywood.
Looks scary.
Whoa. Oh,
wow.
Frightening today. And so did the brand new Steel Phantom, billed as the world's fastest roller coaster. It will drop you 225 feet before spinning you through 2 loops and 2 boomerang curves. The Steel Phantom rolls along at 80 miles an hour, but it's all over in 1 minute 45 seconds, mercifully so.
That's our 6 o'clock report. ABC's World News Tonight is next.
We hope to see you again tonight at 11. Good evening.
The Steel Phantom, and tonight at 6 o'clock, you're going to see Jesse and I stepping into and taking off in this wonderful roller coaster that has put Kennywood on the map forever. This is the best I've ever ridden, and I've been on a lot of them. Ray and Patty?
John, they have a maximum age limit about those who are allowed to ride, right? I mean, when you reach a certain age, you're not allowed on there.
Well, rumor has it that Bill Burns is going to come out in the next day or 2 and give it a try. So I don't know if we have a limit or not, but if there is, Ray, I'll let you know. I don't think you guys are anywhere close.
Thanks, John.
John Burnett got the first official ride this morning. He spent the day there getting caught up in the excitement. He joins us now to tell us that you can do it too.
Ray, you're all choked up. Actually, that's how I felt all day long. I'll tell you what, this ride will absolutely take your breath away, and that is no exaggeration. People have been coming in since about noon, 12:30 today. I got my first ride at 11, and I've had 5 since. Count them. I'm going to go for a half dozen here in just a moment. 80 miles an hour, 225 feet, the highest point on the ride, and you can do it too. And just to prove that, earlier today, I got together with a very brave 8-year-old girl, 52 inches high, which is right at the minimum, and she lived to tell the tale. Here's what happened.
Greatest ride. It's the best. There's nothing like it in the world. Oh my goodness gracious!
It was so scary.
Here, let me give you this.
Oh, thank you. I didn't think I was going to live to the prom.
With those encouraging words as our introduction, 8-year-old Jessica Forstate and I anxiously awaited our turn on the Steel Phantom. First, though, we had to pass the height test. All riders must be at least 52 inches tall, and Jessie just barely hit the mark.
We're in there, darling.
With our anticipation level at a fever pitch, Jessie and I climbed into the car and headed up the long grade to the top of the first hill. Now, I had almost 30 years and over 20 inches on her, but I know for a fact that both of our hearts were pounding right out of our chests.
So, are you nervous?
A little.
A little. Me too. It's okay. That's part of the fun, I think. I hope. All right, we're almost to the top, Jessica. Hold on good and tight. You ready?
Yep.
All right. I guess I am. Here we go. Down the first hill. 165 feet. Oh, yeah. And up the top. All right. How was that first one?
Good.
Yeah, here goes the second. Under the thunderbolt. 80 miles an hour. And up through the loop. Oh, yeah. And around through the boomerang. And now, yo, here comes the corkscrew. Oh, yeah. What'd you think, Jesse?
That was fantastic.
Fantastic. My sentiments exactly. Fantastic. You know, this ride is special, so you got to create a special word for it, and I think that sort of sums it up. I'd like to thank little Jessie Forstate, daughter of Dave Forstate, one of our photographers here at KDKA, for being a brave little gal and going on that ride twice with me. I'd also like to thank Kenny Sims and Jim Artsbarger, who both went on it a good 10 to 15 times today. They were operating the camera in the car just ahead of me. A whole lot to see and do out here at Kennywood, but obviously the big attraction right now is the Steel Phantom, and the big comment that I've been hearing time after time from people when they get off, Ray and Patty, is it's the best I've ever seen, and I got to go to the bathroom. It's probably what I'll be saying in just a minute. I'm going to go for a half dozen here. This is for you, Ray, Patty.
Well, Kenny Sims has been on there 22 times, Patty, our cameraman. He was walking around the newsroom talking to himself today.
Bye, John. Bye, kids. You're going to have to wait a long time to get on that ride.
I won't go near it.
That's it for this edition of Eyewitness News.
News every hour throughout the evening. Stay tuned for the live lottery drawing, followed by Dan Rather in the CBS Evening News.
From all of us here at Eyewitness News, thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
All right. Here we go, out of the station house. And up the long grade. Must be about 200 feet to the top. The parking lot's on the right. Kennywood on the left. There's the Thunderbolt. Boy, it looks small. Just shows you how big this thing really is. You know, I think they intentionally make these climbs take forever to build the anticipation. And it's working. Probably 3/4 of the way there. I'm getting nervous now. And we're at the top. All right? Here. Oh, good. They're going to hold us here. Oh, yeah. Let's build the anticipation a little more. And we're off. Oh, yeah. That first one was a good one. But guess what? Here comes the big one. 225 feet at 80 miles an hour. Under the thunderbolt. Into the first loop. And around through the boomerang. Oh, and the corkscrew. And another one for good measure.
Well, howdy. We're
back in the saddle again for another edition of Channel 11's Kidsburg. Good morning, I'm Dennis Bowman, and today we're coming to you from beautiful Highland Park in Pittsburgh. Well, you're going to want to stick with us because one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to take a ride on the world's fastest roller coaster. It's the Steel Phantom at Kennywood Park. We'll plunge down the world's longest coaster drop, too, at 80 miles per hour. And we're in for a one-of-a-kind ride of a different kind. We'll take a ride on back. We've got two one-of-a-kind Pittsburgh rides coming up. We're going to take a ride on Balloon 11, and we'll also get aboard the Steel Phantom and take the plunge. All of that when we come back. It's been thrilling Pittsburghers and visitors from the world over since 1991. In all the world, there's no other coaster like it. It's Kennywood's Steel Phantom.
Steel Phantom's so special because it's the largest steel roller coaster in the world. It has the longest drop, which is 225 feet, and it is the fastest in the world. It goes 83 miles per hour is maximum speed on it.
Rich Henry is Director of Operations for Kennywood Park, and he probably knows as much about the Steel Phantom as anyone. Besides being responsible for its smooth operation, he's also an avid fan from day one.
I've been on it lots of times. I was one of the first people from Kennywood to ride it. We had two representatives from Arrow and Kennywood ride it on the first initial run with people, and I was there. It's a tremendous ride. There's just no thrill like it.
But you don't have to take Rich's word for it. The folks who have ridden the Steel Phantom can tell you the same thing.
It was awesome, dude.
What makes the Steel Phantom so special? Well, the biggest thing, and we mean biggest, is this drop, the longest on any coaster in the world.
The 225-foot down drop just is a tremendous rush. You go underneath and over top the Thunderbolt, and as you're coming down that drop, you feel like you're going to lose your head on the structure of the Thunderbolt. After you do that 225-foot down drop, there's actually 4 inversions. You're upside down, once in the loop, twice in the boomerang, and there's a half a corkscrew after that before you come into the station. So in a matter of, say, about 30 seconds, you're upside down 4 different times.
The parts for the Steel Phantom were actually built in Utah by one of the world's leaders in coaster design and construction, Aerodynamics Incorporated. They began arriving at Kennywood in the summer of 1990 and were laid out like the pieces of a giant erector set. Earth was moved to make room for this colossal coaster while Kennywood was still open, which was no small task, considering that a lot of the structure of the Steel Phantom is underground.
You can put in a good-sized road from the concrete and steel that's below the ground that no one will ever see.
When Kennywood closed for the season, the giant job of building a legend began. It continued even through the bitter cold of a Pittsburgh winter.
We worked about 22 hours a day towards the end to get it, doing the welding and the last-minute work. As everything fell together, there was a tremendous amount of welding that had to be done and inspection, and we just basically went around the clock.
But the Steel Phantom was ready for riding when the park opened in 1991, and it's been thrilling coaster connoisseurs ever since. In case you've never been on the Steel Phantom and don't know what it's like, have a ride on us on the world's fastest roller coaster.